another torch in from Nitecore. This time it's the EC30. Now this is going to be more of a preview, hands-on, rather than a full-blown review, because this torch is very similar to the Nitecore Concept 1, and I don't have any retail packaging with this either, so your bundled accessories will be identical to the Concept 1. So just on the screen to show you the differences between the two, I measured the EC30 very slightly taller than the Concept 1. It's also a touch heavier. Differences are pretty small though, but the biggest change by far is the side switch design, which is now a button and it's recessed into a redesigned head. So they put a different moulding or shroud around there, so that it also provides some kind of protection for the switch so that you don't accidentally hit it. And this contrasts entirely with the Concept 1, which has that very exposed side switch. To be honest, I didn't like it much. It looked nice, but from a practical perspective, the new switch design on this is much better, and I've been wandering around with it for a while in my pocket, haven't had any accidental activations. There's also some other small changes. The tail cap is slightly longer, and that means that it's a bit easier to screw up when you've got a cell in there. This can take the unprotected or the protected cells. I tend to use the unprotected high drain ones. You'll need an 8 amp if you're using a protected cell. That is a small change, but there is something else which might be affected by that later on, which I will show you in more detail. I just find it threads a bit easier than the original. All these parts are interchangeable. You can put the new tail cap onto the Concept 1, and likewise you can screw the head onto the main body, which is identical. So there doesn't appear to be much difference there apart from that very slight increase in size. But what I found is that the magnet, which I kind of complained about a bit with the Concept 1, it wasn't as strong as I would have liked, but it has improved dramatically. It's probably twice as strong as the Concept 1 on the EC30, and that is a very welcome improvement. It's much firmer in position, so it's less likely to be knocked out of position and fall off. Another change is they've also moved the voltage indicator from the main light to the switch, so you see the green LED flash to tell you what the voltage of the battery is, and that also supports if you've two CR123A cells, it will double up the voltage for that. Whereas on the original Concept 1 you just had the flashing coming out the front. That wasn't a big problem for me personally, but maybe it's a bit more discreet perhaps if you're sneaking around at night or something. Looking at the head part now, can't see any obvious differences there, and these are using minor variations on the LED. The EC30 has a slightly different one, the XHP35HD. They've still got exactly the same candela and exactly the same power ratings. So really those are the major changes to it. They don't seem much, but that side switch is a big one, because the Concept 1 was very prone to be accidentally activated. You have to use the unscrew the tail cap when you put it in a pocket. So we'll go through the UI quickly. I've already covered it with the Concept 1, and I will put that at the top of the screen so you can see that. So you've got a longer press to turn on. Then you have your momentary turbo. When it's on, you can push it in and hold it for as long as it's in. The turbo is activated, and if you want to get into the settings to change them, you have to do that when you're turning the torch on, and I still find that a little bit strange. I prefer to have a torch where you could change the power levels when you switched it on. You've got your instant access to your ultra low. If I was putting this in a backpack or something, I'd still probably twist the tail cap just to make sure 100%, but the new switch doesn't seem to have any problems with accidentally activating. There's your triple press into the strobe mode, and that would depend whether or not you've got it set to the day or the tactical mode, which is the same again, identical user interface to the Concept 1. So you just push in the side switch and then twist the tail cap, and then you get 1 or 2 flashes to switch between the two modes. Pretty straightforward, whichever you prefer. I also found the clip was a bit stronger on the EC30, although that could be sample variation. With the wrist strap, you've still got to attach it to the clip. There's no option to do that to the base. It's still slightly strange for me, but I prefer to have an option on the base, but it's okay. I like to use the wrist strap with this because it's so small and it's fairly easy to drop. I also noticed another small difference with the Concept 1. The ultra low level was brighter than on the EC30 by a fair amount. It's probably about half a lumen on the EC30, and that would explain why you have these slightly longer run times. The maximum run time on that very slight difference in the tint, perhaps a bit more magenta on the Concept 1, and just to show you at the turbo power level, and I can't see any obvious difference between the two, and that's repeated apart from the ultra low which I showed you. The other power levels all seem to be identical to me. Just a quick look at the user guide for you if you want to go through that and just check on the user interface and the other operating instructions with the torch. It's just a revised version of the Concept 1, so I imagine they're going to continue to sell the Concept 1, but honestly I think this is the better torch. I'm still not crazy about the user interface, but you do get used to it over time. That side switch design is much better on this torch, and I think it's a big improvement. I do tend to use the smaller lithium battery torches as well, such as I've shown you here, the On the Road, but I do like the 18650 form factor on this torch because it is much smaller than most of the 18650 torches, and you get a much longer runtime off of it, so I think that is one of the main attractions. So let me know what you think on this. Would you be interested in this torch? Are the changes enough to change your mind on the Concept 1? And I will catch up with you soon.